just in case you eventually watch this in the future and it is morning, afternoon, or evening. So today we are going to be talking about something, and that's about user management in M365. So who are users? Users, when you say users, of course, we've said this in some of our calls, that it actually means your employees, or the employees, people that work in an organization, are called users. So I like using paint to do some kind of illustration, just so we can have a background to what we want to be dealing with in like the whole session. So when you have users in your organization, I mean, again, back to our org, this is our organization. Excuse me, I didn't meant to use that. Okay, where are you, my triangle friend? Okay. So we have our organization, and then again, we have departments in there, right? We have some departments in. Then there is always a unit called the IT unit. The IT unit in most organizations, as far as hospitals, right? They are IT units. Then these are other departments. Other departments. Now, including this can be another department as well. So one of the things is that you have two classes of users. You have the admin users and the non-administrator users. So you have the admin users, and then you have the non-administrator users. Admin users, and then you have the non-admin users. So the reason why I'm classifying this in this way, putting the admin users and the non-admin users, putting these admin users by the right hand side actually means that they are likely going to be in the IT units. And the non-admin users obviously are users outside of the IT units. So when you have an account created, of course, you know that while creating that account, you have the option to decide if the account is going to carry out an act, and that's what determines what role you are going to give to that user. And we have discussed rules before in the course of these trainings. So if it's going to be an admin user, what admin role does the user or do the users need to have? Now there are rules, and we have, of course, global admins. Then we have user admin. We have password admin. Then we have Teams admin. Let's just jump it. Teams admin. You have Exchange admin. You have SharePoint admin. You have security administrator. Let's just leave it here, right? Because with these admin roles that you have here, you can virtually do most of the things you needed. Why these ones are called as, we can call these people ordinary users. Ordinary users, right? They are just user accounts that are created in these departments that are here. Remember, this can even include the CEO. If the CEO is not a techie person, can be left out to just be like an ordinary user as well. So it's not something about power, it's something about rule that is given to the user. So when you have this here, this user account that you are creating here can be managed by the user account that you are creating here that have rules. So the question is now, what rules? I mean, what are those things that you ordinarily manage for users, right? Now, there are things you do for user. Let's look at user management, right? That's what I want us to look at very quickly. I'm just going to put that in red striking here, and then we can, user needs to change password. That's one of the commonest things that you do. Then add user to group. You sometimes you do that, right? Reset users MFA. Then if a user account is provisioned, you want to manage the signing logs, especially when there are issues. You want to manage the signing logs. You want to sometimes sign user. No, there's no particular order for what I'm doing. Sign user out of sessions. Especially when there are security issues, you want to sign user out of sessions. Then you want to delegate users mailbox to another user. Also, there may be instances, I want to put them in one line after the other. There may be instances where you need to add user to SharePoint sites. These are just things coming to my mind that we can do as per management of user. You can add user to SharePoint site, and then you can delete users accounts or decommission or deprovision user accounts. Deprovision. So if you create is provisioning, and then you can also deprovision user accounts. Then you can do a lot of things. But I just want you to be aware of some of the basic things that you do with a user's or with users accounts in your organization. Now, and you need to know who can do that. Sometimes you even need to investigate some issues, and then you need some rules to be able to do that. So these are the things that you can do, or these are few of the things that you can do as an administrator in an environment as per managing users account. And when we get to the admin center, honestly, some of these things that I have forgotten now would have come to my mind also, and I will mention it based on the level my experience, right? There are some things that we do for users that we would like to check out how you do them. Now, now speaking about the rules that are carrying out these major things, and in this different, I mean, in different organization, what you have here sometimes, the rules that these groups that you have for users in this department could be different from the ones you have in this department, right? And then sometimes also a user from here reaching out to IT that the account has been compromised, or when a user is living here, you want to revoke the user sign in, or maybe delegate a user's mailbox access here to another user, or you want to gain access as an admin to the OneDrive folder of this particular user. So these are just, I don't want us to overflog this. So we'll always come back to reference this, but I just want to set this as a background to the conversations that we're going to be having, like from this time, like to the end of um, this session today. So I'll minimize that. Of course, already you should be dreaming of cmd.ms as one of our very, very most referenced URLs, right? So I'll just come to two admin centers. I just want to open this in one, and then I can open this in another one. So these are the two major admin centers where you want to manage users, even though there are other, like you have the SharePoint, you have the Exchange, you have the Teams um, admin centers, which we are going to look at later. But I just want us to live our lives today on the M25 admin center as it has to do with user management. Already we know how to create user accounts. Now, how do you manage them? Because that is why you are employed. how do you manage the users in your environment? First of all, let's say, for instance, that you need to set user location. Now, when you were creating these accounts, you kept a user in a particular location, and your office expanded to um, a different country. Let's say your office has changed to, so I'll give you an instance in time where I had interaction with a client. So the client is in Germany, and the your user is in somewhere in Africa. Where is this place? Was in Egypt. Yeah, was in Egypt. So this lady is going to be the salesperson for the German-based company, and they wanted to give or assign phone number to the user who is in Egypt, but the number is +44. I think. I mean, is a German phone number. I can't really remember exactly the country code um for Germany. But because the user's location was Egypt, they could not give the phone number, a German phone number, to the user account. So this way, you need to change the user usage location if this phone number must be assigned to this user. You can see an instance that just came to my head now. So, for example, we created Chidima Ojuku together on this call last week, and Chidima Ojuku was resident in Nigeria. Let us now say, for example, there was need for her to go and start up like a marketing arm of the business or somehow something in maybe Germany. And right now, there are no Nigeria phone number in the Microsoft 365 environment, except you want to port them, right? But let's leave that away. Now, before you can assign a German phone number to Chidima, whose current location is in Nigeria, you must change the usage location of Chidima. So how do you change the usage location of a user? That is user management. That's an example, right? So I did not state that here. So just know that we are adding that to the list of the things that we can do for a user. They're actually numerous, but let's open Chidima from here. Now you can do this from two places. I'll be comparing how you can do it from the Microsoft 365 Admin Center and how you can also do that from the Entra Admin Center. So I'm coming to Entra also, and I'll come to all users, right? And then what I want to do is to bring Chidima Ojuku up. Chidima. So this is Chidima, right? Okay. So if I bring Chidima up now, I can come to edit properties. So what happens here is that you have everything about Chidima. First of all is the identity of Chidima. You can decide to change Chidima's name here. So then you can change the first name so that Ojuku becomes her first name and then Chidima becomes her second name, right? Or maybe she got married and her name changed. So this is a way of managing user also. So a lot of things will be coming to my head. So I've worked and I have instances where I needed to change, like a lady gets married and then obviously the name has changed. So some ladies put hyphen, in their name, right? Let's say hyphen, this lady gets married to maybe Tokura. Uh, so some people don't really like changing their first name. I don't know, for some reason. So she may just be bearing a surname may just change to Ojuku Tokura, right? So there's always hyphen here like this. So you are changing the name of Chidima Ojuku. This is user management. And so what you do is the email address is changing, obviously. So what you now do is you now come here to say Chidima dot then hyphen Tokura. So what this means is that her name is changing, right? So this is where you can edit a user's name that has been created, the email address, and then the name has changed from here. That is cool. So the next thing is you may want to also come to the job information. So in job information, what is her job title. So this is what you do also in organization where people were promoted from support engineers to managers. So you can't leave the information, because now you can see that your job is increasing. When organizations that do what is called appraisals on yearly basis um, employ people at the point of employment, they were support engineer, TSE, technical support engineer one, right? When their role change, and then you need to state the role, you have to come here to say, okay, they are now team managers, team manager. Because that's the position. This will show up on Microsoft Teams when you search for the user account. If you give position to somebody, if you search under the persons, you see the person's job title. Now, this person is in finance. Let's say this person has changed unit to audit. So you also want to change to audit. There's instances, a lot of instances where people in organization change their department. And it will not be very good if they said somebody has changed department and you cannot change the person's, you don't even know where to change the person's department. And then employee ID, if they have like ID in your organization, of course that changed. You can, I don't think that changes, employee ID is regular, usually constant, right? But let's say that the user left and then the user came back or something. So there may be a need for you to change the employee ID just in case there's any need for change. Then the employee type, you can decide here if the person is on contract, you can decide to put it. Then office location, if, for example, remember this office location is not the country or the region, right? It's different from that. So you may want to state the office location here. Let's say you have offices in Nigeria, and then this user is in Nigeria in per the country, which we are going to see in contact information. And then the person is in the Lagos office, in the Kano office. This is where you're going to fix that. Now, if you come to contact information, so this is where you state the country that the person is. So you state it if the person is in Nigeria, you state Nigeria. If the person is in Germany, as we just mentioned. So if the person's um, detail was here, then you want to come and it was in Nigeria, then you want to come and change it to Germany. Yeah, because she's now relocating to Germany. And she needs to have that phone number. You can assign phone number from Teams, which we will do like in our most later discussions. So if you want to also now put the person's mobile phone number, so this phone number shows up in Outlook and in Teams, just in case your colleague, you're trying to reach out to him or her on the Teams, and she's not available or is not available, and then you want to use an alternative means to reach out to her, you may want to do that. So I think we may just quickly, though Chidima does not have license, we can look for one license and give to her. So let's just say country, let's say Germany, right? So let's say business phone number, you can put the phone number there. Then mobile phone number. So it's business phone number, of course, you know what that is. Then mobile phone number is like personal number that you can give to Chidima, right? So and then the email address, which is same as the email address that you have here. But if you have like an external email address or contact, you can add it there. Other email addresses. So if you have more, you can even click to add more email address to it. Fax number, then nickname, right? If you want to, if it has a nickname, if your organization permit that, you may want to do that. So if you also come here, you can see age group. You can decide to look at minor, adults. That is where extreme cases are necessary. You want to check that. Then consent for minors. So if the person is like, what minor is, like a child, right? So also, if you come to settings here, you can see some few stuffs. Now you can enable usage location is enabled. So you can decide now to, because this is the important part of it, of course, that will fix that phone number issue. So you may want to now come to say, okay, she's in Germany, and then you just take your time to look for Germany here where you're hiding. Yeah. And then if the user is having presence on premises, this is where you kind of manage those properties. So this is we trying to look at the users properties from the Entra admin center. So I'm just going to hit on save here, and then that's going to be done. Then Chidima is going to have those details. So so if you click on edit detail again now, you're going to see those details are saved there. You can see that her name has changed. If you come to job title, you can see that she's now a team manager. A department has changed from finance to audit, and then the contact information. She's now in Germany. This are private mobile phone number or official phone number is also going to be here. And then you have the parental control part of it, and then the settings. The user location is in Germany, and then the user is actually a cloud only user, so we don't have anything to bother about here. Perfect, right? So again, if you look at this place, let me come here. Because we've not changed her display name to reflect to Kura, we may want to also, if you forget, the email address will change, the first name will change, the last name will change. But what is very important is, look at it, is required is the display name. So if I save this now, so this person's name is going to change to Ojuku Tokura. I mean, Chidima Ojuku Tokura. So I'm just hitting on refresh just so we can have that detail here. You can see it showing up now. So when I come to the M35 admin center also, this is Chidima. Because I've not refreshed, the name will still remain the same way it was. So I'm just going to refresh now. Let's see if Chidima's name is going to replicate here also to have changed. I'm just going to search for Chidi. Okay, I think it's just coming up by itself. Okay, you can see that there is a handshake already between what you have here and what the changes you made there and what you have here at the moment. Can you also see that her display name, I mean, UPN, which is the email address, has changed? Okay, you can also see now that, so what you do is, you see this manage contact information, the same thing with what you just did. So you can see Chidima Ojuku Tokura that we made with change. She's a team manager. Our department is audits. This is the phone number that we gave to her. If she has office phone number, we can also from here put that, and then the streets, if we need to put the streets, and then you can see that the country now is Germany because we have changed the country to Germany there in M35 admin center. So let's come in Entra admin center. Let's change Chidima's country location to Cameroon. Maybe she also wanted to go to Cameroon and then she needed to do something that are specific to Cameroon, and we need to change phone user location to Cameroon. But I must quickly tell you that you have limits to what you can make changes to from here in the M35 admin center compared to what you can, the difference or the changes you can make in the Entra admin center. So it's not one shoe fit all, but I feel that the Entra admin center tend to give you more options to just go over this. This parental control, for example, is not here in the M35 admin center. So this can form like a comparison for you. If I were you, I would sit down to see how to edit users' information, the difference between what you can see in the M35 admin center against what you have access to change from the um, Entra admin center. So you can see the join function is just here. The identity is just about the emails. But when you come to this place, you have like limited stuffs to do here. So I just want us to save here. What have we changed? We've changed the user location to Cameroon, and we've also entered office phone number for the user. So if you save it here now, what is going to happen is that change you made is going to be replicating in the Entra admin center after a refresh. So I just want us to see Chidima Ojuku Tokura again, and then we see changes in her contact information. You can see that we've added the phone number, business phone number. And then if we come to settings here, we'll see that the user location is still showing Germany here. And we changed it from here to where now? We changed it to become Cameroon. So that's supposed to also change from the other side. But let's see where the other stuff is, if it's going to be in the contact info. Oh, okay, this is where the changes is going to take effect. So it is what you enter here that will impact this other side. So if I were you, I want to go down, I want to go and sit down and check this usage location here, this one that is in Germany, and then what is controlling the user location or the location of the user is what we have here. Because if we change this one to Canada now, let's see what happens if we save this. That means if we come back to this place and then we do a refresher, then we may be having that one changing to Canada. So the question that I will be asking myself is the other usage location from the Entra Admin Center, where is it writing to? So that will be like a very nice research for you. So let's check here. I just changed this user location there by typing in Canada in that place. So let's see what happens. You can see it's changed, right, to Canada here. And if you look at this place, I will have to drop down. I can pick. But for this other side, I don't have anything dropping. Excuse me, where is it? I don't have anything dropping, except I just have to type it in. So these are the differences that I would want you to go and check out. Chidima Ojuku Tokura. So what have I been, or what have we been able to establish? We've been able to establish that sometimes you need to change user location, right? You need to change user display name, especially when their name changed or when their name changes. And then when they are promoted, you also need to update their job information to reflect the role they now play. And then if they also change departments, then you need to also change departments. And if you want to assign phone number to users, the user location is very important. And if that is giving you problem, you want to go and change the location to the location of the phone number that you want to assign to the user. I'm saying this because Teams has its own phone number, just in case you are not aware. But when we get there in our later time of studies, we will see how those are handled. So this is user management in terms of editing user properties and use cases where you would need to make changes to users' information. And this is possible both from the M365 Admin Center and the Entra Admin Center. So we talked about changing users' password, right? So what are the instances where users' passwords need to be changed? That's a very big question. Now, the reason why you change user password majorly is when the password expires, or when the user cannot remember their password, or when you feel that the account has been compromised, or when you confirm that the account has been compromised. So that way you need to change the user's password. Then how do you change the password of a user? And what are those things that you need to do before changing the password of a user whose account has been compromised? That's a very big question. So it's not just enough that um, Chidima has, I want to quickly give license to Chidima because of what I want us to check, right? I want to see, I hope I still have license to give to Chidima. So, and again, I think I'll just dive off to see how you can give license to user before talking about password change because of what we want to do next. So this is Chidima account. Let's say Chidima needs access to Teams, and then you discover that Chidima does not have access to Teams. And then when she signs into Teams, you get an error. So the error used to be you are missing out. Ask your admin to um, ask your admin to give you access to Microsoft Teams. I've done a video about that, right? So you get an error that speaks to license of a user not giving them access to certain applications. That's the issue on ground, and you want to handle that. So you click on the user account. So before now, it used to be possible from the Entra Admin Center where you have licensing here, but as at October last year, the option to assign licenses to user from the Entra Admin Center has been rearranged, that, so that you can now only give license to user from the M365 admin center, and that information is very important. This is just because if you have documents you're reading and then you see that they're saying go to enter admin center, or even very older document that will say go to Azure Active Directory to assign license to user. So you could assign license to bulk users, right? That is a user in a group licensing. That's what it is called. So when we come to managing licenses, we are going to look at those. But for now, we're just looking at managing a user's license. So Chidima Ojukwu Tokura has no access to Office resources, which is one of the things that we have done like in the very, very first video. Now, if we come to license, come to the user, you click on licensing now. You want to give the user access to M365, but you can see that right now I'm out of license for this. But then I think I have Microsoft Teams Enterprise license. So if I'm giving this license to this user, then it's going to give the user access to 12 applications. So if I check on this, I'm going to have this user having access to Exchange Online Kiosk, and then all of these applications, and very important is Microsoft Teams. So if this is unchecked, that means this user will still not have access to Microsoft Teams license. So I'm just going to hit on this, and what I'm going to do now is I will hit on save. So just so I can give license to this user. So if I don't want the user to have access to maybe immersive for space in Teams, I will just remove it, right? So the applications you don't want the user to have access to, this is the time you uncheck those applications for the user, just so you manage what the user has access to. For example, OneDrive for Business. And then if you turn this off for this user, the implication will be that, of course, we're going to be dealing about with this later, that the user will not have storage, right? The user will not have storage in the when he try to save application, try to save documents or try to initiate any form of recordings and something, you will not have like a storage space. But and if that user is coming to you to say, I do not have storage space, I cannot save items, then you want to make sure that this is checked for the user. So I'm just going to hit on save. So now the reason I'm doing this is because those positions that we give to this user, where we can find them when we sign into Teams. So I will come back to the licensing part. But before I do that, I want to sign into Teams sign to Teams client here. So why that is trying to, I hope I will not be rushing. So let's just calm down to have this sign in here. So while this is even coming up, I will not go so far. The next point we want to look at is how to manage user license. So, but before then, I want to search for Chidima here. Let me hope that the detail, so sometimes it takes a bit for these details to come up. You can see that we've changed Chidima's email address, and Chidima email address has now changed to chidima.ojuku tokura at. So in troubleshooting Teams, you can see that the display name has been changed, but the email address, okay, just so that it changed now, it's just because we are locking. So this email address, if it does not change, right, you just allow it. Now you can see that from Teams, you can see that you have Chidima Ojuku, and this is the email address we changed to. You can see from here that is job title is team manager, and you can see from Teams here that his department is audits, and then this is the phone number that the user uses, and this is the work phone number. So what is the essence of all these things that we're doing? Because if you are here, you can see that Chidima Ojuku is offline now and is a team manager in audit. Can you see that information here? Now, this person that is trying to call Chidima Ojuku, who discovered that Chidima is offline, you can decide to pick this phone number and call, or decide to pick this work phone number and call. So that is the essence of what we're trying to do from the Entra Admin Center, and you can see them replicating here. So where there are organograms, you can see that Chidima Ojuku is a team manager and is working under Benjamin Ujo, who is an advocator in legal departments. So if you keep adding people as manager, if Chidima is having somebody, two persons as that she's managing, then it's going to spread out this way. Sniping two, where are you? So if Chidima has two people that she's managing, so what's going to happen is that those two people are just going to be under her. So if she has more than two, it will just spread out this way, right? I mean, the people will just spread out under her. And if anybody here is managing a group of persons, then it can just also be like that. And just like that, that is how organogram is built, based on the fact that you assign managers to people. So this is, Benjamin Ojo. You can see the LinkedIn profile. If there's anyone on LinkedIn with this name, I mean, if this person is on LinkedIn with this name, you will see that you will have access to the person's LinkedIn profile, even right from Teams. So you can see how LinkedIn has been able to come into Teams and M365. So we are coming back like to where we started. And saying Chidima Ojuku isn't sharing LinkedIn profile information here or doesn't have a LinkedIn profile. So if your contact is based in the European Economic Area or Switzerland, they may need to change the LinkedIn Digital Markets Act policy for you and others to see their LinkedIn profile here. So it's just telling you that if somebody is in Switzerland or if somebody is in area within Switzerland, I think it's specifically Switzerland, that you need to change some marketing act or something for it to show here. That is just a piece of information that you want to be aware of. But my major point of call is in the aspect of the organization. So if the person's manager changed and then you refuse to go and change it, so where do you change users manager, right? So if you come here, Chidima Ojuku, if this guy's manager is changing, this is a part of the user management that we are talking about. If the manager is changing, so how do you see that? You can go to manage contact information. Is it manage contact information? I'm not sure it is. So we'll just quickly look for that, for where the reporting line is. Let me just quickly see. If I don't see it here, we should be able to see it from the Entra Admin Center. So okay, you can see edit manager, right? So manager is Benjamin Ojo. So if, for example, this person's now changed and then Anam became his manager. So you just come, maybe the person has changed department, manager has changed. So you can put it here, you save it. So this person's manager has changed. So let's say, for example, me too, I'm having somebody, let me just bring myself up. And then I'm having Benga to be my manager. So what happens is that I can go to add a manager because I don't even have one before. Then Benga is my manager. So if he's my manager, then it means that things have changed now. So in split of time, sometimes it could take 24 hours. Then if you go to check Chidima Ojuku, you will find out that you have like the manager's information, and then you will see that that would change for her to start reporting to me, right? And then me also reporting under Benga. So if I come here, I'm not sure it will, because the handshake between this and Teams sometimes it takes a while. But if I remember to come back to check it later, you will see that the name, the manager would have changed. That is if it's not changing now. So let's just check the organogram and then let's see. So it's still showing Benjamin Ojo. That handshake needs to happen. I hope I'll remember to come back here later to refresh and let's check. But sometimes it can take even up to 24 hours. But that's just to mention that you can look at overview of contacts, and then from there you see the phone numbers and then all of the things that you need to know. So if you increase the contact detail from here by putting more details to it, those details will just be coming up on there. The city, you add the state, the province, the zip code, and all of that. And if you also go to Outlook, you will see those changes as well. So that's one thing to mention. The reason why I had to do that was because I needed to have Teams license for Chidima, just so she's searchable from here in case I'm unable to search for her. So yes, now we are painting scenarios where user reports compromised account. So we are looking at best practice to handle compromised user accounts. Best practice. to handle compromised user accounts. What does it mean to have a compromised user account? Cyber attacks are everywhere. Let's say, for example, you did not initiate a sign-in, and then you're getting like a prompt on your MFA to approve sign-in, and then you are very sure that you did not request for sign-in. If you suspect that there is a sign-in risk, right? There's a sign-in risk. That is to say, like, your account is likely compromised, and or I'm talking to you as administrators, that a user come to you and or user reaches out to you and say, hey, my account has been compromised. And that is Chidima. Chidima is going through a lot in our hands. So the first thing you do is to sign the user out of all sessions. So when you sign user out of all sessions, then the next thing you do is to block the user account while you investigate the account to confirm what happened to the account. Then you can change the password and make sure that the user is signed into that account with a new password. So there's something I'm looking for while I was speaking, and I tend not to see it here. But then let me see if I try that with an active user's account. So, and that is about sign out of all sessions. So let me just see. So funny, I cannot see that here, except I cannot see very well now. I can't see that actually, and that's okay. I was supposed to first of all have an option to sign user out of all accounts before coming to reset the user's password. So I'm just curious what has happened and what has changed. So let's come back to Chidima. So Chidima has reported that her account has been compromised. So coming up with Chidima's account this way, manage. So the first thing you do, you block user sign in, right? You block user sign in and reset the user's password. So first of all, this is the user. Here, if I want to block sign in, I'm going to hit on this. And then what happens is that I will check this box and say save to block user sign in. Okay, but I'm not doing it from here yet. I want to show us how to also do it from the Entra Admin Center, because some persons are more friendly with the Entra Admin Center, because I feel that some things you want to do are more available in your Entra Admin Center than it is in the M35 Admin Center. So this is the user account. It is showing here that the account is enabled, right? So if it is the fact that this account is enabled and you want to disable the account, you can just come here, and then the next thing you do is check on this and then you save it. So what happens is that this user's account is going to be signed out, right? But I don't want to do it yet. There's a piece of information I want to show you from the other side. So I'll just save it back to re-enable the account. Now, how you do that is, unfortunately, there's something I needed to see, and that is sign user out of all sessions. So that will take effect in 5 minutes. The user will be signed out of everywhere, on Teams, and then on Outlook, on wherever, and then all the devices that the user is also signed in. But since I don't have that at this time, which I'm also going to, I'm curious why it's not here. Manage signing and email. I don't have that. So it used to be sign user out of all sessions. I can't find it. Things can change, right? So I'm just going to come here. So if you look at this, it's saying blocking someone prevents anyone from signing in as this user, and is a good idea when you think their password or username may have been compromised. Now, when you block someone, it immediately stops any new sign-ins, okay? For that, from that account, right? And if they are signed in, they will be automatically signed out from all Microsoft services within 1 hour. So the sign out of all session I was looking for is going to sign the user out of that account in 15 minutes. So that one was like a better approach to this, where you can sign the user out of all session within 15 minutes, and then you also come to block the account. So if you come here now, but this is saying like within an hour, this user will be signed out of all session. That's one. Secondly, this user's accounts, right, would be stopped from new sign-ins. So if we come to this place and you kind of refresh here now, what happens is that you've blocked this user's account, and then you've not changed the password yet, but they cannot be like fresh signing. So you can see that it's also showing here that it's disabled. This is like the handshake between the user. Now you have blocked the account, and then you are investigating this issue. So this is where you check for the user's sign in events to know where the user has been signed in, to see the IPs and all of those. So I'm going to do that with like an active user, which is going to be somebody who uses this account quite often. That can just be either Gbenga or Paul or Solomon, whoever comes to my hand first, because I know we are in these tenants. So maybe Paul is coming to my hand faster. So I'll just come and click on this. So let's say that was Paul's account that was reported, and I want to look into the issue. I want to investigate that issue. So what I would do is to click on that account, and then I will expect this to load up. I don't know why it is slow. I'm just going to do a refresh. I don't know why it is slow, honestly. Okay, so what I would do now is, you see, last interactive sign-in was February 7th, which is today, by 10:19, and the last non-interactive sign-in was at February 8th, which, I mean, yesterday was 7th, not today. February 8th by 9 p.m. So I think it is using 9 p.m. I can't really see what's happening, but then
that was
I will click.
yesterday. That was
I will
yesterday.
click
Today is
on
9.
sign. I will click on sign in, right? I will click on the sign in logs, and then you can see everything that has been happening in Paul's account. Now, if you look at these sign ins, right, like there are a lot, and that's why I'm coming here to look at it, showing that today by 4:23:50 p.m., which is just some minutes before we started our training, there was a sign-in from Paul's account, and that sign-in was successful. And the IP address with which he signed in was this, and the location from which he signed in was in Lagos, Nigeria. And conditional access policy, which we're going to look at later, is not applied. And then authentication required was a single factor authentication. That means he did not use MFA. That means the account did not request for MFA during the course of this signing. But there was a sign-in here that requested that challenge for MFA. That was on the today also by 4:22:31. I think this one he reached out to me to change so the signing was interrupted, right? Interrupted signing. So it's from here you can see, hey, this guy is in Lagos. So how come somebody is signing into his account from Abuja, right? So if you also sign in from, if you also do a sign in from another location, then you would also see, for example, so you can see all the details here, right? Successful, interrupted, and all of that. Now let's look at Benga's account, and you will also see the difference in Benga signing. Remember, we are investigating the compromised account to see, hey, who signed it? Where was it signed it? And then just know where that account is being compromised. I'm just going to do this. So if I come to Benga's account, of course, I know Benga signs in here also. And let's say this is the account that we are investigating. So if I click on sign in, you would see the difference between Paul's sign in and Benga's sign in behaviors, right? And then from there, we can look at the changes that have happened. No signing found. No signing found, and that's not true. So so last 24 hours, you can see last 24 hours. Okay, so we can do last 1 month. Then let's apply. And then we should see some logs coming on now. So that means there was no new sign in the last 24 hours, which is correct because he may have been signed in and then he just left a sign in. And then the sometimes IP address do like they cannot really fix location. So that's why you're seeing NG, NG, NG. And I'm very sure that this one here that is saying Lagos, Lagos, Nigeria, I'm not sure whether Benga use VPN or something, but this is not Lagos. So that IP was not matching very well. 102, but you can see that the same IP. Okay, there was a change in the IP. This was 208, right? So sometimes the ISP, it is the ISP, the internet service provider, that is having that needs to configure their user location correctly, just so your signing can be tracked. But this is still within Nigeria signing. You can see that this IP that was given to the system at this point, perhaps it was connected to a different ISP at this time. As it's different at this time, it was 179, 10289, 43, 179. So this IP is the ISP is having this IP loaded as Lagos, and that's why his signing is looking like. But these ones, this 93, are correct. So this one is signed in from Abuja. So while you can also go like right deep into the user's details regarding that signing, you can look at it. The date of this particular signing was on the so sometimes this dating you need to be very careful about it. So this is February 3rd, 2025. So it's not like our own type of dating that is 3rd of February 2025. So this is um second, February 3rd, 2025 at 1:59. So if you look at this signing, the request ID, so the correlation ID, this can be used to further investigate signing issues. So sign-in factor or single factor authentication, there was no MFA on this account. So status, it was successful. Then continuous access evaluation, there was no detail about that. And then you can see that launch the sign-in diagnostics, and then you can see loads of other details regarding that. This is the email address that was used to sign in. This is the user ID. I can go to the admin center to bring out this user ID also. Then the session ID, this was the session ID. Then the approver ID, this is the details that you can find there, resource owner ID. So these are like the technical details that you want to look at. Then just give me a second. All right, so these are like details that if you are a security administrator, you want to look at. Then what about the location? You can see that, yes, the guy was signed in from Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory in Nigeria, and then the IP address with which he signed in was this, the true global success action, then autonomous system number, and all of that. Now you can come to device. What device did he use in signing in? You can see how much detail you can go. So he was signed in on Chrome, right? And he was signed in on a computer, Windows 10 device. Was the device managed? No, because I don't have that device enrolled on my system. So when we get like real deep, you will know what is called by device managed. Then compliant, was the device compliant? The device was not compliant because there was not even a bit of compliance set up in device management for me yet. So authentication detail, this is where you go to look at it. Previously satisfied, yes. First factor requirement. So it was just like one sign in with password only because I've disabled my security defaults and I just want life to be easy for them here with this tenant. So I've not really configured like a number of security features. Then conditional access policy. So cap, these are the conditional access policy that I have in my tenant. And then this other part of the whole thing is it's not something that I want us to be exposed to at this time. then all these are just like details that you need to have access to. So this is the sign-in for the last 1 month. So fresh sign-in, attempt to sign in. So if you look at the application that he has accessed, is Office 365 Shell WCC clients, then Office 365 clients, then Office Home. Then if you also access other applications, you would also have them here. You can even load more. So now you filtered, for example, you can be asked to submit these sign-in logs during investigation. So how you do it, you kind of download it either in JSON or in CSV. Of course, I don't want you to get confused. What we are doing, honestly, is investigation and management of user accounts. So don't hear IP address, don't hear authentication, don't hear all those things and become frightened. Please, you must not know what I'm doing, like everything, but just know that there is something like this that you need to be aware of. So if you look at it, if you want to, so this can be a question. How many days back or how many months back can you pull out the signing of a user? Is 1 month. So if you want the last 30 days events, you can click on this. And then if you are signed in, like fresh signing in the last 7 days, then we'll have it here also. I think I'll use my account also to do an example, because like this is actually my test environment and I sign in here quite often. So I want to come back to all users. I'm just showing you like a difference, even though that IP was not like showing that it was in Lagos. So like it was in Abuja for all of it. So let me look at my own now. So this is my account. So also, you remember we've blocked the account. We're talking about user management, but now we are investigating the signing of this user, right? So now we come here. What we do is we click on this sign in here, and then last 24 hours, I've signed in to a lot of, I mean, a number of times. This is all these sign-ins are happening here in Lagos, right? And then if you look at them, this is a very bad practice for me to be having single factor authentication to allow me authenticate and sign in. MFA not enabled. So if I pick any of the sign-in details, I can just click on this one. Again, I can investigate what is happening there. So I can do last 24 hours, I can do last 7 days, I can do custom time, right? If I do custom time, I want to set like the date backwards, maybe just sign in between 27th and then 29th, and then on the 5th or 29th. That is for 2 days. I can actually do that, and then I will click on apply. Then the signing details will just come out, just in case this is the period which the account was compromised. So these signing details are going to be the signing from only those periods. So if, for example, I want to download this, reports. Again, I'll just come here. If I wanted to appear like an Excel, this is the name. I will just hit on download, and then I will have these details, and I can share with my security team, right? You can see I'm not trying to delay you, but I'm just trying to drag it over to this place, just in case I want to share this with management also. So you can see I can share this detail with management just so they can see like the signing detail. So if you are working in an organization, just be sure that everything that you are doing, like that single sign, that ordinary signing that you are doing, these are the data that is being generated. So don't think that you can just hide and do something and then nobody knows. Please, you have to be aware that security is a top-notch requirement for you when you work. You can see the user agent correlation ID that we had there. You can see much details about the OT resources and then all of this. So what are we doing at this point? A compromised account was reported, and all this while that we are doing this investigation, the account has been has been blocked from signing in. So now let's say we have find out the reason why that account was signed in. So another thing that we would do, which I would not be doing on this call, so that I don't make things too complex for us, is to try to go and check if this user's mailbox has been some kind of forwarding rules have been set up on those mailboxes and all of that. But let's say that we find out what we needed to check from the sign-in details, and then the next thing we need to do is to now reset the password of the user and have the user sign in afresh. So what we can do that from, again, two sides. Remember, we are dealing with Chidinma, so we can search for Chidinma here. So this is Chidinma Ojuku. So we can bring this Chidinma up now, and we can say, okay, we have seen that the account, we have revoked signing from everywhere. We have confirmed that she is fine. Then we need to reset the password for this user. So you can hit on reset password here, right, before you enable the account. So unfortunately, you cannot reset the user's password because you do not have sufficient permission or the account has been disabled. This is very, very sweet. Now, by the security sequence, you are supposed to change the password of the user before enabling the account. And looking at what is happening here, you cannot change the user's password in the Entra Admin Center. And the reason is because the account has been disabled. So if you look at this, it is possible. I mean, there are two conditions here. One, because you do not have sufficient permission, which is not true, because I have the global admin access on this account. I mean, I'm signed in as global admin, or their account has been disabled. And that is the reason why this is showing red here, if you can see this place. So the best place to do this at this point is to go to the M35 Admin Center, bring up Chidinma Ojuku's account. Even though it is blocked sign in, you can see sign in blocked, but you can reset the password of Chidinma Ojuku from the M35 Admin Center, and the password will be saved. So what the best practice is for you can randomly generate a password for Chidinma and require that she also changes it when she wants to sign in, because you, even as an administrator, is not supposed to be aware of a user's password. Okay, so you want to automatically generate that password, and you want to require this user to change their password when they first sign in with this new password. So you're going to hit on reset, and then the password is here for you to give to Chidinma. For YouTube content reason, this Chidinma Ojuku is a fictitious account for lab purposes only. So even though the password is exposed, it is just a demo user, and we are still going to disable the account. That's just to mention. So now, if you look at this, right, you would need to, now that the password has been changed, remember, you can't do that from the M35, I mean the Entra Admin Center, when the account is still blocked, but you don't have that restriction or limitations here in the M35 Admin Center. So you can decide now to unblock the user account from either the M35 Admin Center here, or you can come here to enable the account from here. So I'll just do something which you can just try to do. If you cancel this, you would see a red sign showing sign in blocked, and then you can unblock the sign in from here, or you can come here and then you check this box, and then once you save this, the account is now enabled. So you are going to send the new password to Chidinma Ojuku Tokura to sign in afresh while you try to remedy the situation. So it could be false positive. All those ones are things that we want to handle later. It may not be that truly that the account was compromised. So if you investigate and you discover that, hey, it's fine, then you can do this. And that's why I was mentioning that admin mobile app is important, because when this happens, you can just simply block the account during that period and then have the user, you can get to the office and then start investigating the user signing while the user is on hold at that point in time. So I'm just going to do this. So if I refresh here now, I would expect that that red line there should be out because Chidima Ojuku's account at this point is no longer blocked. So the account has been reopened, and then Chidima will be able to sign in. And then when she initiates the first sign in, it will request that she changes her password thereafter. So having said that, we will just need to, at this point, try to look at the next line of action that we have here. So we've been able to look at change user's password, and we know the best practice now: block the user sign in, investigate the issue regarding that signing issue that has been reported. It can either be reported or it can be flagged, right? So add user to a group. That should be the next thing we want to do. And we may not be able to finish like all that is here. So manage signing logs. Of course, this is what we just looked at. We have struck this one off already. You can manage signing logs from what I see. Sign user out of all session was what I saw. I said we could not find anymore. So to delegate user to user's mailbox and all of that, this is going to be handled much later. And then we can talk about the provisioning today. So I just want us to move to adding user to group, which is this second point here. So adding user to group, how do you add user to group? So group is something that we will treat later when we are treating the M365 admin center. So we'll be coming back and we'll be treating solely the M365 admin center completely later, right? And then we'll also be treating the Entra admin center like fully from the beginning to the end of the Entra admin center. But while we are navigating and showing us around how to do basic admin things as IT specialist, then we will touch some things first before we focus on how those places generally would work. So we are just looking at approach to solving problems. Now, how do you add user to group? So if you come to the user accounts, I don't want us to go very far. If you look at the user's account, you will see groups. Even if the user is not in any group, the user will be in like the default group of the organization. Let's not speak too much about that. So let's say this user now, you want to add him to or add her to a group. What you do is just come to the user account and then you click on manage group. These are the groups that are available that the user is not in. So what you do is you can just click on the group you want to add the user to, and then you click on assign. So what I'm trying to say, please take notes. You came in through the user, right? You say manage group, and again, these are the group that the user currently is, please. These are the groups that the user is, and then you click on assign members, and then the other groups that are available in the tenant that the user is currently not in will be out. Just the same way you basically add someone to WhatsApp group, same thing. So I want to add them to enterprise voice users. I'll just click on this. And then what that means is that in the list of those groups that the user was, then you will just see enterprise user. Manage group failed. One group, enterprise voice user. I know why this is likely the issue, because that group may be maybe a dynamic group, which is fine. So which we'll be dealing with later. So I will just try to check another group. I know this is not supposed to be like a dynamic group. Let's see what happens there. Of course, you can see that the user has been added to that group. So if I refresh here now, I would expect that that should come up, which is this one, HR Pillars Cloud Technology Sites. So if I also want to add again to other groups, of course, I can just maybe this conditional access group. I don't know if that is a dynamic or a static group. If it's a static group, then of course, I'll be able to add the user to that group. So this is one of the ways to add user to a group. And this is just enough for us regarding adding user to group. So why do you need to add user to group? So just look at WhatsApp group, for example, for different purposes. So in organizations as well, you will have reasons to have groups, right, to carry out projects. So you can decide to add someone to a group. So that said, this will be out of it. And then what the next thing we need to do is to reset MFA for a user. So you must know that I think privilege authenticator administrator rule and the global admin rule are the only rules that can reset the MFA for a user. Okay. So we'll look at that, and then we'll look at the provisioning user accounts, and that will be all for today. So to reset MFA for a user, you can come to Chidima account again. And if you look at Chidima's account, there is one thing you will see here, and it's authentication methods. So let's say the user's account, user changed their phone. So this is one of the things that happens when people change their phones. They want to transfer their MFA from one phone to the other. So how you do that is to come to authentication method. You will see revoke multi-factor authentication sessions. So if you revoke it, the user signing, I mean, all application that this user has MFA set up, you can revoke and then have the user go to a site to, I mean, the site I'll be showing you next to re-enroll the MFA, or you can just require. So this will deactivate hardware or OAuth token and delete the following authentication method from this user: the phone numbers, the Microsoft Authenticator app, and then the software OAuth token. Are you sure you want to do that? So that's one method. And then this one too is just to revoke all MFA sessions. And then you can also do this. So this is like one of the ways, I mean, the best ways you can do it. Revoke them and then have the user to re-enroll. So when this user does this, so it will just go to the site that is aka.ms/MFA setup. So one is sign in here, then to ask the user to sign in, and then you put in your MFA detail, and then you will enroll your MFA afresh on a new device. Because as an administrator, most time people buy new phones, people misplace their phones, people's phone gets spoiled, and then there is need for you to remember we are talking about user management. So this is one of the things you'll be doing if you are a global administrator or a privilege um, authentication administrator. So the very last one is user deprovisioning. So user deprovisioning is like the last part of a user lifecycle in your environment. So one thing you can do is, it will pay me to delete Chidima's account because we've been playing with it a lot. In the future, we may also be doing that. So if you look at, let's bring up someone that has license, say James Brandon. So if you look at James Brandon, this guy has worked with us, and then the guy is about to go. So if you want this user to still be, I will just say this theoretically, right, so that I don't get things complicated. If you want this user's mailbox to still be accessible, then you want to delegate somebody that will be, so this user's account has been deleted, right? But somebody will be having access to the person's email address. I mean, email that the person has access to. You can decide to also give another person access to this user's OneDrive. Okay, so you can, but before you delete this user account, make sure that you remove the license from the account. So again, I cannot remove license from this account, and I don't want to make this thing like very complicated. The reason why this cannot happen is because I gave this license to this person from a group. So it was group-based licensing. So this is not going to be possible for me to remove it. I don't still want things to get complicated. I just want to make it simple. So I don't want to delete my lab guy. I don't want to delete any of those guys. So basically, what you would do, is okay, this guy is using this account. Okay, I think this is a good example. Okay, for TMCC, the first thing I would do is, having delegated the mailbox access to someone converted to shared mailbox, which is theoretical. I will just tell you now. But the first thing you do here is, at this stage, remove the license from the user. So when I do that, it means that the user has no license again. Fine. So I will just remove this user's account now. So what I will do is I will just come here and then I will hit on delete. And then I can just search for TMCC. So I'll click on this and then delete this user. Are you sure you want to delete TMCC as a user? You can restore deleted user and recover their data except their calendar item and aliases. So once you delete this user, if they have calendar invites and meeting invites that were on their calendar, if you restore the account within 60 days, I mean within 30 days, you can no longer get the calendar activity. So we just delete. So if you delete from here, right, and then we go to deleted users, we come here to users and then we'll go to deleted users. Just in case the user came back or that was done by mistake whatever, you can restore the user. So if you do this, the user is going to get restored. But if you come to deleted users here, as I'm rounding off now, and you will see that the user TMCC is going to be listed here, you can either restore the user or you can delete this user permanently. So this is it. So that user is going to get out of the tenants permanently. All right. So thank you very much, guys, for this that you have been able to listen to. I see some chats. I'm going to check those out. And then we can take questions before we call it a day. So thank you for sticking through. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you've not hit on the subscribe button since you've been watching this, I think it is time for you to do that because this is actually a journey, a very long one. And I also thank you for sticking through up until this point. Have a great day. All right, guys.